President Biden at Nancy Pelosi?
You guys keep asking me this question. I think I've answered this question multiple times.
Well, he has admitted now for the first time in this interview that Pelosi is one of the Democrats who squeezed him out of the race. She thought he was going to sink the whole ticket. So how mad is he at her for that?
The president respects his good friend, former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and I think it's mutual.
So no hard feelings?
He respects his good friend, Speaker Pelosi.
The White House is denying that there's any tension between Joe Biden and other powerful Democrats who reportedly campaigned behind the scenes to get him to drop out of the 2024 race. But reports are claiming otherwise. According to Politico, Biden has told his closest aides and associates that he is coming to terms with his decision to bow out of the presidential race last month, but still harbors some frustration toward the members of his own party he believes pushed him out, according to 3 people familiar with Biden's thinking who are not authorized to speak publicly about private conversations. Those members include Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Barack Obama. Pelosi recently admitted she was not impressed by Biden's political operation, but has continued to insist that she was not driving the campaign to oust him, despite mountains of reports claiming otherwise. In his first interview since dropping out, Biden seemed to imply Nancy Pelosi wasn't telling the whole truth. Take a look.
What happened was a number of my Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate thought that I was going to hurt them in the races. And I was concerned if I stayed in the race, that would be the topic. You'd be interviewing me about why did Nancy Pelosi say, why did someone, and I thought it'd be a real distraction, number one.
Now, a senior White House official granted an anonymity to describe private conversations said Biden views Pelosi as ruthless and willing to set aside long-term relationships in order to keep her party in power. That's who she has always been, the person added. Pelosi was asked about Biden's comments on CBS in an interview with British broadcaster Channel 4 News and was clearly eager to dodge the question. Take a look.
It is widely seen that you were instrumental in persuading President Biden to step aside.
Well, I won't get into that.
But did you persuade President Biden to step aside?
I'm not going to that. You know I'm not going to that. Okay. President Biden made his own decision.
The reason why I asked the last question was that it was actually President Biden who name-checked you, Nancy Pelosi, in an interview that he gave at the weekend where he said, if I hadn't stepped aside, and I'm paraphrasing here, I would never have heard the end of it from Nancy Pelosi.
No, I don't know. I didn't hear him say that. He said some of you all would be asking questions about that. I think
but
that's
your name did crop
up. But in any event, I have loved him for decades.
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
But while Biden doesn't seem to be buying that she had nothing to do with his ouster, he is apparently somewhat understanding of her actions. She did what she had to do in order to give Democrats the best chance to win in November, Biden told one of the people, adding that Pelosi cares about the party, not about feelings. But it's not just Pelosi. Biden also is reportedly frustrated with Obama for not calling him directly to voice his concerns about the campaign after the disastrous debate in June. The former president did not try to stir up a movement to dislodge Biden from the top of the ticket, but he also didn't quell one, much to the dismay of some of those closest to Biden, according to the 3 people. And it looks like Biden is carrying his grudges to the DNC. He's reportedly not sticking around to hear Obama or Kamala Harris speak after his speech on Monday night. John, is this just Biden being old and not really with it? Or you think he's just a little messy guy who loves drama?
I wouldn't have really expected that was him, but yes, I'm getting messy guy who loves drama vibes off of him. I think America already has one geriatric former president who can't get past his feelings. I don't think we need 2 of them floating around. My advice to everyone involved in this story is just move on with your lives. It happened. It happened. It was done. And thank God it was done. Like, imagine like having like frustrations over the process. You needed to go. Here's how you could have frustrations. If you got pushed out, Harris becomes the nominee and her numbers are 5 points lower than Biden's, then you can be frustrated. Or maybe if she got pushed out and her numbers were the same and there was no increased chance that the Democrats win. But that's not what happened. It has been a success beyond it, what anyone could have predicted. How are you harboring grudges? Well, the way that he's harboring a grudge is that he, on some level, cares more about himself than he does about the party or the country. That's what it is. And I really do mean everybody needs to grow up a little bit. Like the reporter's asking about it. Like, this is soap opera stuff at this point. I understand asking about the behind the scenes, like machinations, when we don't know what's gonna happen, but it happened, it's done. And Nancy Pelosi, like, stop talking about him in interviews or whatever. Focus on the future. And Biden, you want to have like frustrations, then have them. Keep them inside of your chest and you can feel them every once in a while. But we don't need it as a country. It's just so utterly pointless at this time.
Yeah, so I think what clearly happened was Pelosi saw what was going to occur in the election if Biden did not step down. She's shrewd, man. My fiance and I were talking like a week or two before he stepped aside, and she was asking, like, what do you think is going to happen? And this was when it looked like Pelosi was getting involved behind the scenes. From then, I knew it was going to happen because she is cold. She's really cold. And you can criticize her for a lot of things, but I think in this moment it showed all she cares about is winning and retaining power. That can cut against you, and we've seen it cut against progressives for years, but in this context, I'm okay with it. What I also think is interesting is how she has operated since then, pushing for walls, and now she's calling for the US to cut off arms supplies to Israel. Like, where was this Pelosi the past like 20 years? Like, she's got nothing to lose. She's not speaker. She's not in leadership anymore. She still has a lot of influence over the party and a lot of experience, but she's just Nancy Pelosi shooting from the hip. I like the side of her. And if she can get us to cut off arms deals to Israel, I think she should be allowed to do insider trading. I think it's a fair deal. Only her.
I think we give her the trading as a treat now. 1 or 2 more good positions, and we push out Harris, and she becomes the nominee. Totally joking.
Honestly, at this point, sure.
Yeah. Again, like being mad at her, she was right. I mean, it doesn't matter that she was right. She wasn't first. She wasn't even near first. But whatever influence she had over the process, she was right to do it. The people who wanted him pushed out were right to do it. They were attacked a ton for weeks. And there was, as you said, there was like long periods where it really didn't seem like it was going to happen. But thank God that it did. Everything else is just, it might make for a good diary entry. If Biden wants to, like sit on the beach and scrawl out his feelings, dear diary, I feel like they were unfair to me, then that's fine. But grow up a little bit in terms of like the leaking of information. In particular, you're gonna go to the DNC for one day. Seriously, you're gonna miss Beyonce performing because that's how mad you are. And Nancy Pelosi and Harris or whatever, you need to be there, okay? You need to be there. When Harris gives her speech, they're gonna take a couple shots of you and you're gonna be clapping or whatever. And when Beyonce is performing, they're gonna cut to you and everyone around you is gonna be dancing and you're not gonna be moving at all. And it's gonna be a little bit weird. And then that's your role. And you need to do that. You need to play your role at this point.
Well, the only other thing that could be, if it's not motivated by pettiness, the only other thing is this is an event that goes late into the night, 4 nights in a row. If he's not, I mean, look, we just had a national conversation about his mental fitness and his physical wellness. It could honestly just be that he doesn't have it in him to do that.
That's true.
He does very limited engagements, sitting through multiple several hour long convention nights and then glad handing afterward. That is probably too much for him. That's the only other excuse I can see for why he would not be there.
Well, then give him a late afternoon nap, honestly. I would also say, look, jokes aside, Because there are a lot of people who have a lot of affection for Joe Biden, and even I think that he was, in some ways, he was better than I expected him to be. I didn't think he'd win in 2020, and I didn't think he'd accomplish some of the things that he did. He also didn't accomplish a bunch of things that I didn't think he'd accomplish. So it's a mixed bag. But from his point of view, he resisted. So he refused to have an actual primary to hide the fact that he shouldn't run again. Okay, so that sucks. And then he did just a really bad job campaigning, really bad debate performance. There's a lot of stuff that's bad there. And then when people tried to push him out, he resisted for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so all of that is in the negative column. But then he stepped down, okay? He did a very difficult thing and he stepped down. And then he gave his Oval Office address where he talked about how it was his like obligation and he's super excited for her. And then all of that's positive, massive positive. Helps to take away a bunch of the negative. That can be his legacy going forward. You beat Trump, you accomplished some things in your first term, and then you left gracefully. Right now, if you'd like to, Biden, you can ruin that last part of your legacy. And you can seem like a petulant, doddering old fool who just like he stepped down and now he's regretting it. The only excuse for doing this is to get Trump to think for another week that maybe he'll come back and try to be the nominee. If he wants to drag that out on Truth Social, then fine. But other than that, he's just ruining that element of his legacy, and I think it's a waste.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. We really appreciate it, guys. And we appreciate it if you become members because that allows us to be independent, honest, progressive, all the things that you don't get from corporate media. And all of that is because of you guys. Hit the join button below and become one of us. Become a young Turk.